With the release of Elden Ring less than a month away, and the Dark Souls servers still down due to hackers, concerns were rising on how this would affect Elden Ring's online play for PC users. According to Elden Ring's user license agreement, we've learned that the game will be using EAC Anti-Cheat. Now there's a lot of debate on whether this anti-cheat system will help or hurt the game and the community. First, let's talk about what EAC Anti-Cheat even does. There are two types of this service that developers can choose to implement, client-side and the server-side. Client-side EAC is a kernel-level anti-cheat, which means you grant it complete access to your entire system. This allows the anti-cheat to scan your system for third-party software that attempts to access the game process or alter your computer's physical memory. EAC would launch their EXE whenever you play Elden Ring to do system checks while playing. On the other hand, server-side anti-cheat would monitor the data being sent to Elden Ring's server locations, meaning your PC wouldn't need to handle any additional processes. Server-side anti-cheats can also provide the developers with helpful information like player locations, inputs, and other data for playtesting or reviewing player bans. More importantly, server-side anti-cheat catches more cheaters and is much more difficult to breach than client-side. We currently don't know in which state EAC will be implemented, but the main sentiment I see from players is a want for server-side anti-cheat, or at least the option to turn off client-side when playing offline. Some games that launched with EAC didn't even have the option to play offline. But I think FromSoft is smart enough to know a large percentage of their player base is not interested in online play and will provide an offline mode. I think it's great we're finally getting an anti-cheat system, as Dark Souls had absolutely no protections for PC players. Before the server shut down, the remote code execution hack on Dark Souls allowed players to install malware on other players' computers. People were concerned this exploit may still exist in Elden Ring, and so a new question arises. How effective is EAC Anti-Cheat? EAC is not foolproof. Games using this program still run rampant with cheaters such as Apex Legends. These players still frequently get banned and reported by other players, but FromSoft has a history of banning both the hacker and the hackee. EAC might help with this. Communities of hackers work together through forums to constantly find new ways to bypass anti-cheat, while EAC works to update their software to block these breaches. After going through some of these forums, I found that hackers have no issue getting into kernel to access the game process directly, but it's the server-side anti-cheat that actually detects these hackers and hits them with a ban. Because debugging software can't run without EAC detecting it, this makes it a bit more difficult for hackers to test their cheat code without getting detected. Some players are also anxious about client-side EAC and its kernel access to your computer. For some, it's a privacy concern, and for others, it's a system specs concern. EAC becoming a part of system startup or running in the background has taken a toll on some players' performance. I also want to briefly mention that if you're worried about Linux support, EAC has been updated to work with Linux as of September of last year. Hackers are essentially able to do everything they were able to do before, but it will be much more difficult and a lot less consistent than in previous games. Because Elden Ring is not a highly competitive PvP game with online rankings, I don't think hackers will care enough to keep up with EAC Anti-Cheat, at least not on a large scale. I'm personally no longer concerned about my computer's safety for Elden Ring's launch. However, I am concerned about how these changes are going to affect the modding community. I know not everyone is interested in making or playing mods, but the devs of the Convergence mod, Cinders mod, Remastis mod, DS Fix, and more are part of the reason Dark Souls has continued to thrive long after release. Some players even consider Dark Souls 1 unplayable before the release of DS Fix. I know the modding community was ready to tackle brand new mods using content from Elden Ring's open world, and if the community finds Elden Ring in need of fixes, modders won't even be able to make small changes very easily. With server-side EAC, I don't think mods will be able to exist at all in multiplayer without getting banned. When it comes to offline modding, we will have to wait and see how client-side EAC is implemented. My hope is that the challenges presented by EAC won't halt the modding community, and I don't believe it will. Modders have worked endlessly translating and debugging code from the dated engine of Dark Souls 1, so I don't think a little anti-cheat program will stop them now. People have been quite pessimistic about the implementation of EAC, but honestly, I'm just glad we have anti-cheat provided by FromSoft. When it comes to hackers using remote code execution to install malware through Elden Ring, I think it's extremely unlikely people will be able to access this exploit should it even still exist in the game's netcode. These changes at least go to show that FromSoft is taking security a bit more seriously than in previous titles. Still, I wouldn't blame others if they wanted to wait for the community to uncover how EAC will function in Elden Ring before playing online. If you found the information in this video helpful or interesting, please leave a like or subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. I know this topic is mainly a concern for PC players, but as someone planning to play co-op on PC, I was invested in this topic. Anyway, thanks for watching, see you next time.